Good morning, everybody. I think we have everybody now back online. Nancy's giving me some notes here this morning. She's so proficient and efficient. I appreciate that, Nancy. As we all know, the drill by now, just a reminder that our meetings are virtual, but broadcast electronically through the county's YouTube page so that it is publicly accessible, and people perhaps may be viewing our discussions and deliberations today as they would if we were in person. If you'd like to chime in on any conversation, please just raise your hand so we can keep the flow of the meeting organized. We'll start with attendance. I think Nancy's probably captured everybody, but we'll just so we can hear everybody's voice. Mayor Bailey.
I'm present, thank you.
Present. Member Verhey.
Present.
Member Brown.
Present.
Councillor Pierce.
Present. Morning all.
I'd like to say a warm welcome to Inspector Darling.
Thank you. Good morning.
And of course, Acting Staff Sergeant Andrew Hampson's here. Nancy's going to be recording. Robin from the county is here, and then looks like all the other sign-ons are our tech side of things. So just we'll need to do a motion for the agenda, please. Is there anything that we should either be adding or approve as is? Councillor Pierce?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Through you, as discussed with the email that was sent out yesterday, I'd like to add an item to in camera regarding an email that we received over the weekend.
Thank you. Member Brown, did you have something to add?
Madam Chair, if we can add under business arising from the minutes, 6.2, the Brant Towing Group, and 6.3, the Brant Safe Streets Strategy, please.
Okay, with those additions, is there anything else? So I'll seek a motion to approve the agenda, please. Mayor Bailey, thank you. A seconder. Member Brown, and all those in favor of the amended agenda? Thank you, it's carried. This time we need to declare if there's any pecuniary interests to do so now. None. We have no delegations today, correct, Nancy?
That's correct.
Correct. Just before we open up the meeting, I guess just like to quickly say it's National Volunteer Week, and I'd like to extend on behalf of the Police Service Board our thanks to the OPP Auxiliary in Brant County for their volunteer contributions to the county and for the work that they do to help our detachment out. I had always thought in the past that they were somewhat paid for their services, but they actually are volunteers, and we appreciate the work that they do. So thought I'd take the chance to thank them during National Volunteer Week too. So Inspector Darling and Acting Staff Sergeant Hampson, please pass on our thanks to the auxiliary members. Okay, so the minutes from the previous meeting, March 16th, they're in your package. Is there any errors or omissions that need to be highlighted? And if not, then we need to seek a motion, please, to approve those minutes. Councillor Pierce and Member Brown, and all those in favor? Great, that's carried, thank you. Okay, business arising from the minutes, we have a couple of things to go through. We have the traffic enhancement unit on the business arising from the minutes because we had tabled that from last meeting. I believe that it was put on the agenda previously by Inspector Anderson to give us an overview of what the new contract would be, the enhancement would be. But then, of course, Sergeant Hampson didn't have all the details at that time, so I'm not sure if we're in a better position or not to talk about it, but we do need to just recircle on it. I'll turn that over to Inspector Darling or whomever.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have a lot to speak to at this time, other than, again, I believe Acting Staff Sergeant Hampson advised that we're still waiting for some of our vacancies to be filled prior to those members being brought on board, at which time they will their role will be the proactive traffic enforcement that the county has been asking for. Andrew, if you want to add anything to that, or?
Sorry, no, I don't have anything further to add to that, Inspector. Once we have our resources in place and the vacancies filled, we'll move forward with the traffic unit standing up. Hopefully we'll see Inspector Anderson return and in the near future, and she can provide a more wholesome explanation of the specific duties of the traffic management unit. Thank you.
Councillor Pierce, you have a question?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Through you, I'm confused here because these two new officers that were being hired are totally separate from the day-to-day detachment numbers, so to speak. These were additional hires that we're paying for from the county. So I'm trying to understand why the current vacancies need to be filled, which I think, if I recall from a couple of meetings ago, there's not that many, maybe one or two, but regardless whether there's one or two or five, one should have nothing to do with the other. I'm confused here, and I'd like to get an explanation of that. If either one of you know, because like I say, my understanding is this is completely separate. These are two new hires specifically for traffic.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
through you. I think the thought process behind it is, if we're not fully staffed on the platoons in order to handle their day-to-day work there, to put two members into a traffic unit where they might end up being pulled away to support the front line, because they're currently, we do have, it looks like it's going to be actually 5 vacancies. I'll speak to that in the staffing piece, but I think that was the idea behind it, was let's get ourselves to full strength and then add in officers that are dedicated to that. As soon as we add officers in for that purpose and the other ones aren't full, the reality is if there's a call for service, they're going to be focusing on zone patrols as opposed to the overall proactive patrol across the county.
Go ahead, Councillor Pierce.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Through you. Okay, so I think whether it's done at this meeting or another meeting or a special meeting, I think we need to sit down and discuss this a little bit further, because, as I say, and I appreciate the fact we want to have full platoons and all that kind of stuff, but this is totally separate. And the rationale behind these two new hires wasn't to backfill vacancies within the standard deployment. So I think it would probably be beneficial if we were to, whether it's you, Inspector Darling, or Sergeant Hampson, or I don't know if you guys, and I appreciate the fact, Inspector Darling, you're kind of coming into this at the 11th hour type thing. A lot of these things were done prior to your time here, but I'm confused. This isn't my understanding of how this was supposed to work out. So I would appreciate being able to sit down with maybe yourself and the mayor and Michael to talk through this if we could.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, through you. I just want to clarify that there is no billing happening right now for those two resources. Just
No,
so you know. Okay.
Yep, no, I appreciate that. Yep, absolutely. But I think we should have a little extra talk on this. Thank you.
I just to follow up on your comments, Councillor Pierce, I would agree with you. Just having us all on the same page would be very helpful, because I think we have some different points of understanding of what the timelines are, what the purpose of the unit was to be. And I guess I would express the concern that if we're, no disrespect, but if we're waiting to be at full complement, we always have vacancies. You know, it's a rotation of things. So I don't know what the threshold for what is full, you know, and what would that require. And so ever since I've been on the board, we've seen a kind of a rotation of vacancies for different positions and different things. And perhaps that's something we can talk about in this meeting that Councillor Pierce is alluding to as well, just so that we can get an understanding of what that means. I don't know, do other members of the board, Mayor Bailey?
Yeah, if we could, first of all, welcome Inspector Darling. It's nice to put a face to a name that was rumored to have been employed by the county. I heard through funny ways that you were here, and when I was asked what I thought of our new inspector, I said I didn't know. So I hope moving forward that we can have maybe a tighter line near the mayor's office so that I at least know who is working for us here at the county. That's no one's fault, but it did happen. Nancy, if you could make that meeting happen sooner than later, please, to talk about the 2 extra officers. I know there's already been concerns why these officers, which have been okayed by council for quite a while now, aren't being visible. I know they're not being paid for right now, but the optics of them not being around are still being noticed. So Nancy, I don't know who wants to be on the call. I do. Jennifer should be. I'm sure the new inspector would like to be there. Obviously, Councillor Pierce. I don't know who else, but if we could do that sooner than later, maybe even this week. Mr. Brown just put his hand up. So maybe a full, maybe we could call it as an emergency meeting of the, and not an emergency, but an extra meeting of the Police Services Board.
Yeah, special meeting. And Mayor Bailey, would you, we would include Michael as well, Bradley?
If you'd like to, yeah, that would be fine. If there was going to be any staff on it at all, it would be Michael for sure.
Okay.
Thank you and welcome again.
Does that work for everybody then? Between Councillor Pierce and Mayor Bailey and having that discussion? Inspector Darling, that work for you, I suppose? And I know you're, again, I apologize. I know you're coming into it a little bit with your hand tied, but hopefully we'll be able to get to some kind of discussion about it.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Anything else on the traffic unit before we move on to our other business arising from the minutes?
Nope. Thank you.
Okay. Member Brown, you wanted to talk about the Brent Towing Group?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Further to our last meeting, I'll just provide a quick update. On April 14th, Madam Chair and myself met with the executive of the Brent Tow Group, Adam. We had an extremely positive meeting. The contract was discussed at length. Our goal is to simplify the contract and reduce the redundancy of the issues covered in other acts of legislation, and Adam's done a very good job of that. He's completed the first draft, which you will all receive next week, and we are seeking your input, comments, and concerns so that the draft can be further polished before it's brought back to the Police Services Board. Once we're satisfied with the contract, then if it's the will of the board, it would be presented back to the Brent Towing Group. So just to let you know where we're at and what's happened since.
Any questions on that update? This is very productive meeting, and Adam's done an excellent job working with both Jim and I. Mayor Bailey?
Just while we're speaking about towing, just for a second, I've received a call from Ed Duris's daughter and his sister, and also Cope. And Ed is on his last moments with us here on Earth. And they've asked me if I would represent the county when something happens. And I said I would represent the county and the Police Services Board just because of the numbers that are allowed at the funeral. So this is he could be gone now. He wasn't gone this morning. But I will be representing the county. And if you don't mind, Madam Chair, I'll speak if I'm asked to speak on behalf of the Police Services Board too. So thank you.
That would be great. Thank you, Mayor Bailey, for doing that for us. Ed certainly played a pivotal role in bringing some harmony and collaboration to the, from what I understand and from the history that I'm learning, to the towing group here in Brant County. So thank you for doing that. Okay, if there's nothing else on the towing, we'll have more to come in future meetings, as Member Brown alluded to. You also had a Safe Streets update there, Jim?
Yep, through you, Madam Chair. At our last meeting, there were concerns raised about the Safe Streets program. A request was made that the county and the OPP get together to further clarify the rules, strategies, and procedures. A meeting was held with Mr. Bradley, Inspector Darling, Acting Staff Sergeant Hampson, Member Haley, and myself. Again, it was a very productive meeting. It appears that the strategy has been working in some aspects. However, there were some areas that need to be further refined and clarified. The county and OPP agreed to refine and clarify all roles, and once this is done, they'll ensure that all stakeholders, including council, are provided with the appropriate information and education to ensure that we're all on the same page. And I expect this to happen sooner than later. Hopefully we'll have something by next cycle and we can move forward with that as well.
Excellent. Any questions for Member Brown on that? Great. Thanks, thanks, Jim, for all that work. Those are two important issues. Any other business arising from the minutes? Councillor Pierce, will you be talking at all in your council update about any discussion about the bus patrol program?
I can be, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
then I'll defer to your update then before
Sure.
for that.
Yep.
Okay, if seeing no other requests, let's move on then to our statistics and our reports. Everybody has the detachment commander's report in their package. I'm sure it's all been reviewed. I did have a chance to talk with Inspector Darling about how we would like to have time for discussion, and that she does not have to read the whole thing, because the expectation, of course, is that we've all read it. I know that Inspector Darling will also bring her experience. We've had some chats about how different her other police service boards are compared to ours. So looking forward to having you present that to us this time, Inspector Darling.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just give a quick overview of who I am for everyone who hasn't met me yet. I'm Lisa Darling. I'm an inspector with the OPP. I am the detachment commander of Peterborough Detachment. That's my day job normally. I was the detachment commander in Northumberland, which is, I don't know if you know, down the 401 there, Coburg, Port Hope, Campbellford, and Brighton area. That's the detachment I had prior. I've been doing this for about 6 years. And my discussions with the chair were regarding the fact that I have had 6 boards in Northumberland and 7 boards I currently have in Peterborough. So it's a very different setup than having 1 board. This is a nice treat. And I'm looking forward to this. I'm just filling in for everyone's information until May 9th. There was just a window of time in West Region where they did not have someone that could sit in. And I agreed to do it. They'd reached out to Central Region, which is the region I'm part of, and asked me if I would come and fill in for a few weeks. So I agreed to that. So I'm looking forward to it. And I will ensure that anything that comes up while I am here is passed on. Hoping Inspector Anderson is back, but if not, whoever is replacing me, I'll make sure that everything gets put forward to them. Sorry, I have a tickle in my throat this morning. So just to start the report, I'm just going to go through the staffing and public complaints to start. I think this was brought up at the last meeting, but you can see that our the community safety and well-being team was officially formed on March 1st. So that's who you can see the first 3 positions are those members that have gone in there. And then Ken and Jerusha came out and they're now working on platoons. Darcy Daly is a brand ERT member here who's been successful on our spin team. So he's leaving or has left already. And Samantha Bergeron is actually going to be going to Wellington in a special unit as of May 17th. Of course, the bottom one is me. I'm here now for a few weeks. And just looking forward, Andrew Nicholson has been filling in as the operation. So basically in Andrew Hampson's role as the operations support sergeant for the detachment. He's going back to his regular position in ERT. And Tim Graham, who's a operational support constable here, is stepping up to do that role for us at detachment. Austin Kohler, who's a detachment min clerk here, very happy for him. He's been hired by the OPP as a constable, and he leaves very shortly for that. So that's a good news story for us here again, as well as Tamara Brooks Wheat is starting with us on May 3rd to replace him, and she's actually an auxiliary sergeant with us as well. So that's good. Well, we had 2 conduct complaints so far this year, and they've both been resolved. One was through informal resolution, and the other one was screened out as vexatious or frivolous through the OIPRD. The next page is just the community safety and well-being team, just to give you an overview. You can see what they've been working on. Obviously, it's early on. I know that Michelle's had a lot of discussions with St. Leonard's, and they're changing that process to streamline it a bit to make it more assisting the front line. They go in. She's going to go in with the mental health support member from St. Leonard's, usually after the initial officer's already been at the scene in response to crisis, in respect to crisis incidents, but also follow-up referrals. So you can see there in March, there were 19 follow-ups and referrals on the top of the 14 crisis calls that they attended. And we do have a meeting later this week. I'm in that meeting just to discuss how it's going, to see if there's anything that can be worked on. I've also had quite a bit of experience in these teams on the east side. We did a lot of work there, so hoping we can work something, get a little bit of information going both ways. Again, Conrad started as the CSO. He's still working on getting his training and stuff up to date because they need specialized training to do our media. But he's been doing a lot of great work. You can see there in the community and trying to get his name out there and do some proactive work that way. And Sylvie's the school officer, and she, even though we haven't obviously had school as much this year, she's been doing a lot of great work out there. And I just put the positive ticketing program on there. I don't know if it's been on here before, but that's some of the stuff that she's been doing to encourage the kids in the area to wear their masks and keep social distancing and those things during these times. The focus patrols, you can see the charges and everything laid there on the 4 patrols that are currently outstanding. I'm not going to speak much to that. If you have any specific questions, please ask, and Andrew he's been around longer than me. I wasn't actually here for this month when this happened, so he can talk to that in more detail. And moving forward, for what we're working on are the off-road vehicle enforcement initiative, and Andrew could actually speak to that. He was out there this weekend. They did some really great work on that, a very positive, well, I guess I should say productive weekend. I don't know if it was positive that they came in contact with so many people out there, but it was a very productive weekend for them. Media has gone out on that, reminding everybody about ATVs not being permitted in the area. And we're going to continue to do that through the season. Loud vehicles is another issue that's come up in the county, and there is an operational plan developed on that, and proactive enforcement will be starting on that as well. It's a joint forces one again with our Ministry of Environment as well as MTO. And again, we've talked about the community safety and well-being. That's growing as we speak, so that will evolve over time into what it's going to be for Grant County. As far as the noteworthy incidents, you can see there's 3.5 pages here. I just wanted to point out most of what's on this, and I'm not here all the time, but most of what's on this you can see is a result of the proactive work that the officers are doing. There are some on here you can see that were reported in, but a lot of these are traffic stops and proactive reports. So that those proactive traffic stops and work from our members resulted in 6 impaired and 10 stunt driving charges. 3 additional pairs came in because of calls for service. And we had a proactive stop in there. You can see, I think it's on the first page for Brant. Yeah, on the 1st of March, there was a person stopped for driving issues, but they also had an outstanding warrant with the Brantford Police. And just a couple of important ones here. The wrong way driver that was stopped as well. That was on the 12th of March, and on the 21st of March, the report of erratic driver. Officers located the vehicle, and they were in possession of, they were charged with dangerous driving, but they were also in possession of property obtained by a crime, driving while prohibited, and charges related to a possession of a loaded handgun in the vehicle. Any other questions on those, please? Again, you can stop me at any time if you have any specific questions. So when we go to the trends and actions aspect of the report, you can just see there 911 calls seem to be up in March. I don't think that's surprising with what we're dealing with in with COVID and people being in close proximity to one another. Yes.
Marty, can we just wait till we have questions at the end, and then we'll do all the questions and discussion at the end of the report? Is that okay? Yeah.
Yes, yep.
Sorry about that. So we are up, but that's not, I don't think that's unusual in the circumstances that we're living with now as the norm of society, but they are down obviously since we implemented the efficiency project. That has also resulted in alarm calls being down, but the other aspect of alarm calls being down is people are at home. So it's a lot harder to break into something when people aren't leaving their residence. So I think that's probably also had an effect on that. And again, you can see the mental health calls, they're holding steady. Patrol hours for the month of March. You can see there we talked about the foot patrol hours. They have increased from 41 last month to 94 3/4 this month. I know there's some discussions around that, especially I believe mostly in Paris where we saw a significant reduction. But again, that's just an adjustment period while members are no longer walking out of their building and already being in the town of Paris. So those are things that are being worked on, and officers are encouraged and have been assigned community foot patrols to ensure that that does increase. And then the next page is your statistics report, I believe. So again, I've already spoken to the public complaints piece. That's the top piece there that has the zeros across because it was in the other report. And then you just see your patrol hours for, pardon me, for the month of March over last year. And again, for both quarters, so you can see the difference there as well. So you can see the cruiser patrol hours are up and your foot patrol hours are down there by 100 hours, but it is catching up from last month, so that's a positive. Your calls for service billing summary, you can see that as well. So last year at the same time on your weighted calls for service, you had 410 for the month, and this year you have 375. So the weighted hours for the month are down as well. So that's a positive from a billing perspective. And then you've got after that, you've got your violent crime and property crime. You can see holding pretty, down 7 from steady 2019 and 20. We're down to half that for violent crime. Again, down in property crime, and again, people are home, so we're benefiting from that in some respects. And again, you have the possession of drugs, one of those. Your motor vehicle collisions are on the next page. You can see we've had 3 fatals to date, which is unfortunate. I believe 2 of them were within the month of March. But in all other aspects, the collisions are down. And if there's anything else you want to discuss on there. The next page just gives you your overall foot patrol hours by zone. And then your zone patrol hours. And you can see the provincial highway, there's been a lot of complaints about erratic driving on the 403, which has resulted in a lot of officers doing some directed enforcement regarding complaints that we've had. And then your property crime, you can see again, down this year versus last year at the same time. And your mental health calls, and this is the one we kind of talked about already through the trends. So you can see that they are holding steady from last year in relation to mental health calls. And the 911, again, is up from last year. And you can see your alarms are down slightly. And domestics, of course, like we talked about, which is why a lot of the 911s are going up, domestics are going up as well. And I believe that's it for my report, Madam Chair, unless, I don't know if I normally would speak to the false alarm summary, if that would be someone else, but.
We'll do the false alarm summary after we have a chance here for discussion and questions, and not sure if anybody wants to start us off here. I know who I can count on for some questions. But Marty, you had your hand up first. So Member Verhey, did you want to ask your question?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Don't worry, John, I'll be really short. It was just a silly little question because about I think March 6th, one of the notable incidents that was recorded as Middle Town Line. I know a lot of people. I live on Middle Town Line Road in Harley, and a lot of people get that confused with Middle Town Line in Oxford. So just a little minor technicality of the road difference. I don't know which one, if it was meant to be Brant, I'm assuming. Like I said, minor detail, but just looking for clarity.
Yes, that was what it was meant to be, just for clarification.
Thank you.
Really quick question. There's a lot of acronyms in here that I've not seen before, and I think I figured out a lot of them, but not every one of them. Just out of curiosity, what is the acronym SPIN?
Sorry, that is basically our surveillance team. So
Okay,
when they're,
specialty.
that's what she'll be doing, criminal surveillance, be part of that unit.
Okay, so we have, I know Councillor Pierce, you have some questions, and then I'm sure others will have some as well, but you always do a great job of kicking us off, so.
Okay, thanks, Madam Chair, and through you to Inspector Darling. Yeah, I don't pick it apart, but I usually have a lot of questions on the report, so it's nothing personal, of course. I want to start it off with a good news story in regards to Austin Kohler. I've known Austin Kohler since he's been just a wee lad. He's good buddies with my son. They're the same age and they've grown up together, and I think that's just fantastic. I'm very proud of him, and I know he'll do a very good job. And eventually, maybe someday he'll come back to the county. But no, I just wanted to start that off. I knew that he had got that, and he's quite excited about it. So that's good. I know he'll do a fantastic job. As far as the report, yeah, it's good to see Foot Patrol is up, but it's still down. And as I always say to Inspector Anderson, and I know Sergeant Hampson has heard me say it a few times, when the public sees the report, all they're seeing is the negative. They don't understand the rationale behind it, or maybe circumstances, or what caused that particular report to be down. So again, going forward, I think what I'd like to see, and I know what the public would like to see, is, you know, if it's down like that, if there's any rationale we can give behind it to kind of get a better understanding of why things are down. More information. Obviously, we don't need a whole book on it, but more information would, I think, set the public at ease, because like I say, all they're seeing is, oh, we're down 20% or we're down 30%. That's kind of where they go on that. With the loud vehicles and the off-road vehicles, I think that's fantastic. Actually, I've had a correspondence from Constable Vitalis in regards to a project that he was going to be put on for loud vehicles. I'm not sure if he's still going to be doing that with the new role that he has, but I had responded to him that I would very much like to be involved with that through a council aspect of it, because that is something we hear quite often from our constituents as to the loud vehicles, and now we're getting with the motorcycles out there, and you know, more of the little vehicles with the loud mufflers and that sort of thing. So I'm quite happy that that's something that's going to be continuing on. And as I said to him, I would love to be part of that. With the off-road vehicles and stuff, it doesn't specify in the report, but I'm wondering, was Barker's Bush one of the areas that we're keying on for those, because we do get a lot of public complaints about the ATVs out that way. Don't necessarily need an answer for that at this time. As far as the report, I don't know if anybody else picked up on it, but it seems to me there's like a huge number of impaireds that were caught in this last go round, and I don't know if that's something that is like, it's definitely on the upswing, because you see the odd one in there, but this last report seemed to be overwhelming. I'm curious if that's just our problem here in our area, or is that seemed to be unfortunately up across the board again. I thought, I thought we were heading in the right direction with these impaired drivers, whether it be by alcohol or by drug. I'm just curious on that. If you could kind of expand on that. Is that something that unfortunately we're seeing, province-wide or countrywide or anything like that? Other than that, 1 second here. No, I think that's all I have for now. So if you could just kind of just respond to a few of those, that would be fantastic.
I thought I'd let Andrew speak to what they did this week with ATV enforcement, just so you have a good understanding of what they did. They did some great work out there this weekend. So I'll let him speak to that, and then I'll speak to the impaired piece if you like after that. Okay.
Still on mute, Sergeant.
Sorry about that. I hit the button twice, I guess. In regards to your question with the loud vehicle campaign, Constable Vitalis is still involved with that from a media and messaging aspect. And the lead on that is now Acting Sergeant Brian Workman. I'll make sure that he is in touch with you to loop you in. In regards to the ATV patrols, we've broken it up into several different loops of the way we ride. So on the past weekend, we did the Mount Pleasant, Canesville, Onondaga, Middleport loop. Our next time out, we'll be focusing on the other loop, which is the St. George, Paris, Burford loop. And yes, Barker's Bush is included in there. It is a difficult spot for us to actually do enforcement in the bush, just based on getting in proximity of other riders and having them effectively see us there and actually come to a stop, as it's a very condensed or dense bush in there at times. So it's hard for us to actually catch up to riders at times and get them to notice that we are police and not just other riders. I think we're quite obvious with all of our police gear and the flashing lights, but it's not obvious to other people who may not expect to see us out there. So part of that is a visibility piece where we will be doing enforcement specifically in Barker's Bush, but you will see us driving around some of the neighborhoods in Paris where we know that there are riders who perhaps live in that specific area, just for that visual piece of letting them know that we are out there and we do have the machines to do the enforcement with them. So we're basically we're following the same pattern of patrols and enforcement that we did last year. And we had great reviews on the weekend down specifically in Middleport. We were approached by a number of property owners thanking us. They're still talking about the helicopter being down there last year doing the enforcement. We do plan to keep the enforcement levels up. We resulted on the weekend, we had 7 people charged and 1 male charged with impaired operation of an ATV. That ended up being on the Haldeman side of the border, so it won't be reflected in the Brant statistics because we were right down essentially on the border and it was on their side, but it was still a win in that we got an impaired driver off the road. That's all I can report on at this time for those 2 initiatives, and I'll defer back to Inspector Darling.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Just in regards to the impaired driving, I can't speak I can't speak with a great deal of knowledge on Brant County because I haven't been here long enough to really do an analysis on that piece. However, I will say impaireds are in my area as well, also up. I think the concern, am I frozen? Are you?
Oh, you're good.
Am I frozen? Am I okay? Okay, because I thought I might be there. Sorry, my computer's showing poor link. So I can say we're having the issues in Peterborough County as well. And again, I can't speak to here, but some people are not as comfortable right now taking public transit either. So people who might not normally be on the roads are maybe on the roads now if when they're not as comfortable with that. I can say in Peterborough County, our public transit is one of our challenges there, is having that available and accessible to people. So our impaireds are generally very high there in any way. But again, with the circumstances of COVID, we know that the comments are that substance abuse is on a rise, and that can result in people who would not normally be in this circumstance potentially being there now. All we can do is educate and be out there, and they're doing a great job here, doing a lot of traffic stops. So I look at that as very positive that they're getting these people off the road. But yeah, it is a problem.
Unfortunate. Thank you.
Some follow-up questions, I guess, maybe Sergeant Hampson, this is maybe a little coming from a couple meetings ago, but I'm just wondering if there's any update on the extended service office in the Canesville, Onondaga area, if there's any update on locating a suitable premise.
I have a reminder set for myself actually right now to get in touch with Robin over at the county to see where we're at with that. The last update we had was the new hall in Onondaga, and we were just working through some of the details towards the Wi-Fi and security of a workspace for us within that location. And I haven't got a report back on that in quite a little bit. So I did put that down as a reminder for myself after the meeting already to follow up and see where we're at with that. Thank you.
Great minds think alike. Well, hopefully, Robin, I know your screen's off, but no need to turn it on. But hopefully, you'll be able to follow up then with Sergeant Hampson, and we can kind of close the loop on this one outstanding issue. The following up on Councillor Pierce's. Oh, sorry, Robin, there you are.
Sorry, no, that's okay. I was just going to say that I didn't have any further information to provide, but I know we do need to finalize this, so I will talk to Acting Staff Sergeant Hampson, and we'll get it finalized.
Perfect, thank you. Just following up on Councillor Pierce's comment, then Inspector Darling or Sergeant Hampson, is there a way to then put that commentary in the report about the rationale and the foot patrol, like as Councillor Pierce mentioned, so that we can kind of explain the rationale behind why the numbers are where they are to help the public and those reading the report to better understand that? Is that something? I know that there's some standardized templates that you folks use, but is there a way to add that commentary in there?
Yes, Madam Chair, I don't see why we couldn't maybe put that in the even the trends piece, just speak to it in a more simplistic way about why what challenges we're facing. And I think it's going up. I think it hopefully will take care of itself. It really is just a change in environment for everyone to know that they need to get out there and do those pieces. They used to just walk out the door and they would be able to do that, and that's just not the case right now, so they have to make that concerted effort to get there. But I do know that that's gone out to the platoons, and they are being assigned specifically to do foot patrol to ensure that those pieces are getting back up. So we can definitely put that in.
I think if we can add it in some capacity in written form, just so that it is demonstrated as it sounds like it's a very thoughtful approach. It's a very intentional approach in terms of the foot patrol hours, but we just want to make sure that the public understands that as well, rather than just reading the numbers. Is that, Councillor Pierce, is that what you were thinking as well?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Member Brown, you had your hand up?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Inspector Darling, can you advise us further to the conversation or the comments that were made earlier? Can you advise us what vacancies we currently have, both with names and without names? Sorry, just to clarify on that, when I'm asking for how many total vacancies we have, but I also want to include the ones where you have a name attached to them that aren't here yet.
Through you, Madam Chair, there will be 5. They are not all there yet. They will. I think we have 3 currently and 2 soon. In May, we'll have 2 more, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So that's it. Yes. So we have 3 outstanding. I think they've been there for a while. The 3 vacancies you have. Perhaps I'll let Andrew speak to the specifics of them. And then, of course, I mentioned there the 2 members that will be leaving. Those will be the 2 vacancies that are upcoming. The ERT member, as well as Samantha Bergeron, who's moving along. And then, of course, we have a detachment admin clerk position as well that's open right now that we're filling with a contract.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, maybe make it to put names to the positions. We do have a frontline ERT vacancy at the moment. We have one member who starts his emergency response team training for 10 weeks. He starts that at the start of May. If he is successful in that, and we certainly hope that he will be, he'll transition onto the emergency response team, and that will create a frontline vacancy when he moves from his frontline position onto the ERT position. We have a vacancy caused by a resignation of a member, which will be filled hopefully in the near future. We have a vacancy as a result of one member going to the surveillance unit. We have the 2 vacancies related to the traffic enforcement positions. And in June, we will have another vacancy for a member who's been off a long term. There'll be a change in definition, which will allow us to fill that vacancy, which has been held back due to health issues for that member. Hopefully that will clarify it a little bit. I can't give you all the specific names for everyone involved for certain reasons, but I think that paints a picture of where we're at. We do know that we're going to anticipate some vacancies coming up in the future. Thank you.
Can you clarify, the 5 vacancies includes the 2 for the traffic unit?
That's correct.
Okay. And Member Brown, did you have some follow-up there?
No, that's good. Thank you very much.
Okay. That's very, oh, sorry, Councilor Pierce. Yep.
Yeah, sorry, Madam Chair. Just for clarification here. So the 5 vacancies includes the 2 new hires for traffic control. So if we take that, and then we've got the 1 position you were speaking there that is somebody on long term, which isn't really technically classified as a vacancy at this point in time. So in essence, there's really only 3 frontline vacancies at this point, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
The detachment administrative clerk, what you're filling, Austin's new fill and Tamara's coming in, is that a civilian position or is that a officer position? Oh, sorry, you double muted.
That's a civilian position.
Oh, okay, thanks. Any other questions for the report? I just want to comment that I know probably more than some of the other of my fellow members on the board on social media, whether it's good or bad. It's great to see Conrad and others posting for Brant County. I know that we have to get into the queue for West Region, but you know, on Twitter and on Facebook, saw things about loud vehicles and speeding and various things that are on social media. So it's really great to see that promotion of the work that's being done on those 2 mediums. I think it helps to spread the message of what's being done, and I'm a big believer in the more we can do in that, the better, to show the community that effort that's being done. And I also wanted to say, I know it's not in the March report, it's more of it would be more in April's, but I just wanted to say thank you. I've had a couple of calls from people in St. George appreciating the police presence when there was small protest here in St. George, and they appreciated the comfort and safety that provided them, and unsure what that was going to turn into, but knowing that the police were there that day, they really appreciated your presence and the resolution to that situation. So thanks to all those involved in that as well in St. George. Okay, anything else on the detachment commander's report? Seeing none. We have the false alarms report in our package as well. Not sure that there's anything particularly noteworthy in that today. It's hard, I don't know. We don't have a comparison to 2020 in this report, and I didn't pull up any of our numbers from the past, but I guess it is what it is. There were 16 warnings issued. There's been no billings. And as Inspector Darling mentioned, there's been a decrease in on calls for alarms, and then hopefully the work that's been done in the past on the warning system. So hopefully we're seeing the impact of that as well. Any other comments on the false alarm report? None. Okay, so at this time, we can receive both reports, please. Motion, Mayor Bailey, seconded by Councillor Pierce, and all those in favor of receiving both the detachment commander and the false alarm report? Great, thank you. We have some communications in our package on section 8. There are two in there. One is from Mr. Sherwin, excuse me, about OPP presence in Paris and traffic enforcement. Mayor Bailey, do you have anything else you want to add to Mr. Sherwin's comments, or do you think any kind of responses required from us, or?
Well, it's always nice to acknowledge a letter that gets put into anybody's package, but this is an ongoing thing. This is whether it's him or whether it's the two people I received one from this morning. It's going to be all day long, every day. So, I mean, it's nice if you could have the time to answer all the letters. It would be great, just to show that they weren't not heard. They were heard. But we can do that between the two of us. If you want Mandy to do some for me and you do some, but I think everything we get put that gets put on the agenda or gets put in the package deserves a response. And thank you for responding to Edith Stone the way you did. She appreciated it. Thank you.
Other than responding to Mr. Sherwin for thanking him for his input and his support, is there anything else we need to discuss? I can certainly work with Nancy to prepare a response to him. I think that's a great idea, Mayor Bailey. Anything that comes in our package, we should respond to. But is there anything else that needs to be discussed on this particular item? I'm not in Paris at that time of day, but I can imagine it's a busy. I had to go over for some errands, and Grand River Street is no fun time trying to navigate that at that time of day. Okay, let's move to Edith Stone. So as Mayor Bailey alluded, we had on our agenda last meeting a communication from Mrs. Stone. We then responded to her, and this is her response back to us. And I saw in the report that both Constable Vitalis and Constable, the other community safety person, I apologize, I can't remember her name. Thank you. Both had been working with Mrs. Stone. Sounds like both of them have been in conversation with her. My understanding from Mrs. Stone is that she's not intending to run a Paris community policing meeting until it can be in person. She does not want to do anything virtually. So I'm not sure what more here we can do about answering some of the concerns and questions she has listed in this letter again about, I don't know, Sergeant Hampson, if you have anything further to add, because I know you talked to her as well. I'm not sure what else I can respond back to her with.
Yes, there's nothing really that we can add to this. Both Constable Vitalis and Constable Gagnon have been in touch with Ms. Stone and tried to encourage her to utilize a electronic platform to hold the meetings as they're doing with St. George. Seems as though there's very little interest in doing that from the Paris end. We still have no indication as to what the equipment is. I know it says that she hasn't been asked. I've been assured by my officers they have had those conversations with her, but she does not answer what equipment and supplies she wants stored here. She just talks around it. So that's really all I can offer on the points here. Constable Johnson's phone was turned over to Constable Vitalis as they switched their roles. There was a few days of delay in that as the phone was locked, and we had to have it unlocked and reset up again. It's the same phone number, just for ease of access to the public. They have the same phone number, so all the media outlets know who to call. Constable Gagnon has taken over as the lead with the Paris community group, and that's really what we have. The officers that have been in touch with her have informed Ms. Stone that we won't be providing the personal contact of people from the town meetings to her, but we're more than happy to reach out to them ourselves and provide her information to them. That's where we're at. Thank you.
Councilor Pierce?
Thanks, Madam Chair, through you. And thanks, Sergeant Hampson, for trying to strongly suggest to Mrs. Stone and the committee there that they do a virtual meeting. It says in her letter there that some of the members don't have computers. You don't have to have a computer to join a Zoom session. I would even suggest that we, if in fact there is going to be a follow-up letter to her, strongly suggest again that we do a virtual session. Again, just to ensure she understands, which I believe she does, the fact that you do not need a computer to join a Zoom session. I think it would be good for them to meet, even on a, it would, for some it would be like a conference call. Others that have access to Zoom and stuff like that, it would be virtual, like we're meeting here. I'm hoping that she understands that there are no in-person meetings happening for any committees at this point in time. And unfortunately, with the way things are, I think it's going to be some time before we are able to meet in person again. I think, I understand the fact that, she wants to meet in person and see everybody face to face. Well, who doesn't in this day and age? But the reality is we need to use the resources that we have in order to do that. So again, appreciate the fact that you've also suggested the virtual meeting, as have we, and all we can do is reiterate that fact that that is the way to go right now, and you do not need to have a computer to do it. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Pierce. Any other comments on either of these? On Mrs. Stone's piece, Member Verhey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, just a quick comment, not necessarily in direct response to Ms. Stone's correspondence, but just thinking back to when we actually had the town halls in person, there was some brief discussion about maybe us as board members participating in, just to sit along and somewhat try to prevent this breakdown in communication between the board and the OPP and these community groups. And to be honest, I kind of forgot about it too, but just rereading her correspondence kind of tweaked my memory on that. What's your response to that in terms of participating with these groups a little bit closer, just to maybe have a better channel of communication, as opposed to, he said, she said type of situation, which I'm curious to see how this could go away. But I mean, as an individual, I'm open to participating in one of them. I don't know. I think there's 3 or 4. There's only 2?
2 active ones.
Okay.
I believe.
Okay. So yeah, those are just my thoughts, but I don't know what the other board.
So when I also spoke with Mrs. Stone, and I did say the exact same thing, Marty, that we were also interested in being engaged and participating, and she mentioned then again that there wouldn't be anything until it was in person. And I said, well, whenever you hold a meeting, that's the reason why we want to be involved, is to make sure that we understand the grassroots concerns, but also be able to be a bridge of communication where possible. But she was supportive of the idea and appreciated the input, but until there was going to be a meeting, she didn't feel that was going to be helpful. I do have a report on the St. George meeting in my chair's update in the update section. With respect, I believe, and Sergeant Hampson, correct me if I'm wrong, the 2 active community policing groups right now are Paris and St. George. I don't know if there's other communities that have active community policing groups.
That's correct. Those are the only 2 active groups at this time.
I think, if I remember correctly, and folks correct me if I'm wrong, but this is 2 years ago now, of course, back in 2 years ago in May, when Inspector Anderson did the zone community meetings, the idea was to try to get those other communities to start up some community policing groups. And by collecting people's contact information, that would be a way to reach out to those that might be interested in being engaged or being wanting to know more information. So I think that was the other 2 communities especially that they wanted to, but also I think they were looking at, beyond the committee itself, there's other people who are probably pretty interested in being involved, but just didn't know there was community policing groups or didn't understand there was an opportunity to get engaged. And so that was a way to ask them. And I think, pre-COVID, I think the idea was that those zone meetings were going to happen again. But COVID had changed our plans with being able to have those zone meetings to update the community as well, which hopefully we can return to someday post-COVID, because I think they were a great idea. So I certainly can respond back to Mrs. Stone with the comments and suggestions here today. I don't want this to turn into a circular monthly correspondence either. Does that sound good to everybody? So perhaps then, if there's nothing further on either of these 2 items, a motion to receive both and directing the chair to respond accordingly to both of them is what we should do. Member Verhey, are you willing to put that forward? Yeah, okay. Seconder then for that?
Right.
Member Brown and all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving along to other business. We have some updates. I'm not sure if there's other things that anybody wanted to add into this other list, but let's kick off with Councillor Pierce. Any updates from council that you want to share with us?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. So I did bring up in council the fact that we had the bus patrol folks in and gave us a very, very good presentation, and I felt that it would be very beneficial to us here in the county, especially with the number of buses we have for the vast majority of our students here. We didn't set anything as far as a date, but council seemed very open to have them in and do the presentation in front of council as part of one of our meetings. I did get the information from Nancy regarding, I think it was Philip and John, the 2 guys that were in. I did get their contact information and threw a quick email out to them just to say, hey, thanks for the presentation. I'm speaking to council about this and like to set up a meeting to have you come in and review that with council. As I say, there's been no date set for it yet, so I will actually give myself a note here to circle back with them to see if they can if we can confirm a date to have them in. So that's kind of where that conversation went on there. Other than that, there's not a lot from the council point of view, other than the fact that we're as was kind of discussed here earlier today with the Brant Safe Streets, that's really moving forward into the summer months. I think there's going to be a lot of good work done on that throughout the summer. Hopefully we can clamp down on a few of the biggest concerns from the residents, and that is of late it's been speeding and the loud vehicles. So that's all part of the Brant Safe Streets. And as some of you, or most of you, or all of you may be aware, we've, and Robin's still here, I believe. That's great. She's done a ton of fantastic work as far as photo radar coming into the county. And it looks as though we've taken a big step on that, that's going to come in. And we've got some good response from surrounding areas that have used it. And it definitely is, it's taking its toll. You know, as I've always said, you hit somebody in the pocketbook, and that's what's gonna stop them. So there was a lot of good discussion around council in regards to photo radar. And there was several of us on there that felt that in the end it would absolutely pay for itself, and that's still the thought with most of us, that once we get this up and running, the fines that do go out with them will in fact, you know, circle back and pay for us to have that. So again, that's coming. That'll be coming this year as well, and that's good news for all. That's about all I have at this point in time, unless there's any questions.
Just a follow-up, Councillor Pierce, is that photo radar, refresh my memory, that's for the community safety zones that we're allowed to put the photo radar in?
Correct me if I'm wrong here, Robin, but yeah, I believe at this point in time, it's got to be classified as a community safety zone for it to be in. Is that correct, Robin?
That's correct. It either has to be a community safety zone or a school zone.
Right.
And designated as such by bylaw.
So if I could just add to that, the letter that we received from the gentleman regarding Grand River Street North, that would that's definitely a school zone there, and that would be a prime location, so to speak. But at any rate, they are they're mobile units as well, so they can be moved around.
That's good news to
It
have
is.
that tool in place, and another enforcement tool for the citizens and the community. Some people might not like it, but I think that's a great step forward.
Agree.
Yep, well done. Any questions for Councillor Pierce? None? Okay, great. Marty, anything from Zone 4 that you want to give us an update on?
Sorry, yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I can give a quick update. I think last time I had a sharp end time, so I don't know if we got to the Zone 4
No,
update, which was from our meeting hosted on February 17th. So it was a bit of a fresh start and reorganization, because we hadn't had a meeting since, well, it was actually almost a year ago. Prior to COVID was when we had our last in-person meeting. So this was our first, not only our first meeting, but our first online conference meeting, and a significant amount of changes to the board. So new treasurer, secretary, new chairperson. So yeah, it was a lot of people were just kind of wondering about the structure and the format. So went well. It was fairly short and concise. What else? I'm just looking through here to see if there's points of interest. We got a bit of an update from Chris Hairpath on how things are going there from the board standpoint. I know we talked as a group about membership dues, sort of perceived as a smaller issue, but that was the one thing we decided at the Zone 4 level to maintain. So there's, if Nancy hasn't seen it already, there should be some sort of correspondence looking to collect our dues that we're just going to maintain for now. So everybody was in favor of that. And then the biggest issue actually in terms of discussion and questions at the end of the meeting was about the municipal issues around cannabis. So we heard a lot from Norfolk and some from Port Colborne area, with the mayor was part of the Zone 4 group from Port Colborne. And yeah, so I haven't heard a whole lot from the Brant County area, but Norfolk certainly wanted to spend a lot of time talking about that. Conclusion was just to talk about it at our municipal level, at our individual boards, but that it is a municipal issue and not an OAPSB issue. That's all I have, unless there's questions from anybody today.
Any questions for Marty? Seeing none, thank you very much for the update. Moving along to the community safety and well-being plan, I don't have any formal update to give you. I haven't been provided anything from the staff that are coordinating it. I believe the survey tool is still out with the community on the Brant County's Engage platform. And they were also going to be targeting specific people within the community to get some feedback on. I hope that we get those results soon and that we have a draft of the plan since the deadline is fast approaching. But one of the downsides of working virtually is the lack of engagement. And I do feel that not being able to meet together where there's not as much collaboration perhaps as maybe when you're face to face, but even still on Zoom, we haven't had a meeting, so I can't speak to anything in terms of what's going on there. So that's, I continue to express my concerns about the deadline and about the draft of the report, and hopefully we'll see something shortly. Just a really quick update under the chair's update. I did attend the St. George Community Policing Group meeting virtually on Zoom that was held in March. There's about 12 residents that participated. Certainly the average age of residents participating were older, not necessarily younger. That was my first meeting that I attended, and that was their first meeting that they'd had in a year. They hadn't had one for a year until they got themselves connected here on Zoom. I think they're trying to cast a wider net in the future. They're trying to get some more visibility within the community to try and get more people attending meetings. I think they're trying to figure out what it is they want to focus on. They had a couple of different ideas. Constable Vitalis came in and gave them a little bit of an update on some of they were very interested in the statistics of the community and the what's happening in the community. There was a lot of discussion about traffic and King William Park and whether that could be closed at night, which is obviously a county issue. There was a lot of talk about what they could do to promote the committee itself. They were very happy to have me as part of to attend, but I think there's an opportunity for some education as well in the future of these meetings and to maybe help support the community policing groups. There was no knowledge of the Safe Streets program by the committee people who attended the committee meeting, so maybe that's an opportunity to engage that group with a small presentation about the Safe Streets program, about what it's for, because that's the community engagement piece. Maybe some understanding of some of the programs that can be done by the community policing. I think there's some structure would be a benefit. I don't know who does that or who's responsible for that, but yeah, it was a good meeting otherwise, and I'll commit to attending those in the future if they continue to have them. Mayor Bailey?
Yeah, that's a great idea. I would like to also be invited to the next meeting. I know that Edith Stone watches our police services meetings, and I hope that she understands that we really can meet together virtually for Paris, because I used to attend all the Paris meetings too, and I enjoyed them. And I understand what's missing from in-person. I mean, it's the same thing that's missing from in-person everywhere at every level around the world. So Edith, please, I know you're watching. Know that it happened in St. George, and I'm going to speak to Jennifer, and it can happen in Paris too, and I'd like to be a part of that also. But if you could just let me know next time they meet in St. George, Jennifer, that would be great. Yeah, I think that we're missing an opportunity not to drop the ball in Paris. So thank you.
Yeah, so that's, I guess to follow up, Marty, that kind of closes the loop on the two community policing groups that we know of. And if there is ones in other communities that are started over the next little while, then we'll certainly engage them as well. Yeah, I think overall, though, I did get a good, people are appreciative. St. George residents on that meeting were very appreciative of the work that's being done by our OPP members. And there's, going through the statistics that help them understand. Yeah, I think with the Constable Vitalis being approachable that way, I think that'll be a really good relationship for them to nurture. I don't believe they're meeting again till the fall, Mayor Bailey, but I definitely will keep you up to speed on whenever I hear anything.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. And we really did have good response from the entire county. If it wasn't for COVID, after Lisa did her presentations all over the county, there was a lot of people ready to jump right on the bandwagon. So I do believe that people that are interested in policing will be watching this meeting. So people that are in Onondaga and Middleport, all those places that were excited, Mount Pleasant, that were excited when Lisa came and spoke, please get a hold of Jennifer or myself, and we will make those continue to happen. And just because we can't meet in person, we shouldn't lose the excitement that we saw the night that Lisa did her presentation. So please, let's keep it moving, and let's not let this be 2 sort of dead years just because it's not in person. So if you're watching, please make the contacts, even through Nancy Davis at Police Services. That'd be great. Thank you.
Great. Okay, I don't know if there's anything specific that anybody wants to talk about with 2021 priorities. We've talked a lot about communications and engagement and whatnot, but if there's nothing specific there, I think that our updates would be wrapped up. Seeing none, we have some in-camera discussions at this time. I think that's next on our agenda. So before we do that, I'm going to need Nancy's help to get us ready to do that. And go ahead, sorry, Mayor Bailey. Yep. Oh, you're muted.
Just the motion to move in camera, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. So I'll entertain a motion then to go in camera, please. Councillor Pierce, seconder by Member Verhey. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Last item on our agenda is next meeting, and we are scheduled right now for May 18th, which would be our next regular meeting. As discussed earlier, if we need to get something scheduled sooner than that, once Robert and I have had a chance to chat, we will have Nancy reach out to everybody to try and align a time that can be done. And I believe the traffic enhancement piece and that special meeting, we'll see what Nancy comes up with dates for that as well. So stay tuned to your emails for any additional dates that might entail. And seeing if there's nothing else, I guess we know it's going to be virtual for some time, so I don't have to mention that again. Look forward to someday being face-to-face. I think we should have some big celebration like meal together once we can get face-to-face together. We have so much to catch up on. So at this time, we need to seek a motion to adjourn, please. 10:57. Thank you, Member Verhey. Everybody have a wonderful week. Stay safe.